Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that never stops talking, where everyone is eager to speak, to post, to share their thoughts, there is an underestimated force that very few have mastered: silence. Think about the last time you were in a heated conversation. Did you feel the urge to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to prove a point? That's what most people do. But the ones who truly understand power, the ones who command respect, they pause, they listen, they observe. And then, when they finally choose to speak, people listen. Today, I want to show you why your silence is not weakness. It is your greatest strength. It is the key to control, to influence, and to unlocking a presence so powerful that it doesn't need to shout to be heard. Let's begin. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the ultimate expression of it. In a world where people equate loudness with authority, those who master silence hold the real strength. When someone speaks, their words can reveal what they know, what they feel, and sometimes even what they fear. But when someone stays silent, they create an air of mystery, an undeniable presence that demands attention without asking for it. Think about the most respected leaders, the individuals whose words carry weight. They don't rush to fill every moment with noise. Instead, they observe, they think, they let the moment unfold, and when they finally speak, their words have meaning because they have chosen them carefully. The power of silence is that it forces others to lean in, to wonder, to anticipate what will come next. It shifts control from those who speak impulsively to those who hold back and strategically decide when and how to engage. In difficult situations, silence is a form of self-retreat. When emotions run high, most people react. They argue, they defend, they justify. But those who recognize the power of silence understand that reacting immediately often leads to regret. They know that in moments of conflict, silence can be the greatest tool for maintaining composure. When you stay silent in the face of provocation, you take away the power of the other person to control your emotions. You make them uncomfortable because they expect a reaction, and when they don't get it, they start to question themselves. Silence also gives you the time to process. Instead of responding in a way you might later regret, you gain the ability to assess the situation, to see what others miss, and to make calculated decisions. In negotiations, the person who speaks less often holds the advantage. The need to fill silence with words is a weakness many people have, and those who remain quiet create space for the other side to reveal more than they intended. There is a reason why moments of silence feel powerful. They create tension, they demand attention, and they shift the energy in a room. The person who embraces silence does not need to seek validation because their presence alone speaks volumes. In a world of constant noise, those who master silence stand out not by demanding attention, but by making others realize that true strength does not need to announce itself. Influence is not about speaking the most. It's about being heard when it matters. The most powerful individuals throughout history, leaders, thinkers, visionaries, have not been the ones who dominated every conversation. They have been the ones who knew when to remain silent, when to listen, and when to make their words count. Silence is a tool that builds influence because it allows you to understand before you engage, to gather knowledge before you contribute, and to let others feel the weight of your presence without the need for constant words. When a person speaks less, their words become more valuable. If someone talks all the time, their voice becomes background noise, something that people tune out. But when a person rarely speaks and then chooses their moment carefully, others instinctively pay attention. People associate silence with thoughtfulness, with wisdom, with someone who doesn't speak unless they have something worth saying. This is why the most respected leaders are also the best listeners. They don't jump in just to hear themselves talk. They listen to understand, they absorb the information around them, and when they finally speak, what they say has impact. Silence also shifts the dynamic of a conversation. Most people are uncomfortable with pauses. They feel the need to fill every moment with words, often speaking without thinking, revealing more than they intend. But the person who embraces silence can control the flow of dialogue. By allowing silence to linger, they create anticipation. They make others wonder what they are thinking, what they are planning, what they might say next. And in that moment of uncertainty, the one who remains silent holds the power. In leadership, in business, in personal relationships, the ability to use silence strategically builds credibility. It shows confidence. It demonstrates that you are not seeking validation, that you are not desperate to be heard, but rather that you choose to speak with purpose. When others see that you are not easily swayed by the noise around you, they begin to see you as someone who commands respect. Influence does not come from dominating a conversation. It comes from making every word you speak matter. Control is not about dominating others. It is about mastering yourself. The ability to remain silent in difficult moments is a sign of true power, because it means you are not being controlled by your emotions. Most people react instinctively when provoked. They lash out in anger, defend themselves when criticized, or speak impulsively when put under pressure. But those who understand the power of silence recognize that reacting immediately often gives control to the other person. When you stay silent, you take back that control. You decide how and when to respond, rather than letting someone else's words or actions dictate your behavior. Silence in moments of conflict is one of the most powerful tools a person can use. When someone argues with you, they expect a reaction. They expect resistance, emotion, or an attempt to fight back. But when you do not give them what they expect, they are thrown off balance. They start to question their own words, their own position, and their own certainty. Your silence forces them to think deeper, to reconsider, and sometimes even to backtrack on what they just said. This is why some of the most effective negotiators, leaders, and mediators use silence as a strategy. By refusing to react impulsively, they force the other side to reveal more, to fill the space, and in doing so, to give away valuable information. Silence also protects you from saying things you might regret. In the heat of the moment, words come out that are driven by emotion rather than reason. A single sentence spoken in anger can damage relationships, create misunderstandings, or escalate situations beyond repair. But when you hold back, when you pause and allow silence to do the work, you give yourself time to process. You allow emotions to settle, and when you do decide to speak, your words come from a place of clarity rather than impulse. Beyond conflict, silence is also a way of asserting control in everyday interactions. When you speak only when necessary, people take your words more seriously. They know that when you say something, it is not out of habit but out of purpose. It commands respect. It shifts the dynamic of conversations in your favor. The ability to remain silent when others expect a response is a skill that very few master, but those who do are the ones who set the tone rather than react to it. Observation is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop, and silence is what allows it to happen. In a world where everyone is eager to speak, those who take the time to listen and watch gain an advantage. When you are silent, you notice things that others miss. You see the way people react, the emotions they try to hide, and the gaps in conversations that reveal more than words ever could. Observation gives you insight, and insight gives you power. Most people underestimate how much they reveal about themselves through their words, their tone, and their body language. But those who remain silent long enough to truly observe can pick up on the unspoken. They can tell when someone is nervous despite their confident words. They can sense hesitation where others might hear certainty. They recognize when someone's actions contradict their statements. These details are invisible to those who are too busy thinking about what they will say next, but they are clear to the ones who master silence. In both personal and professional settings, observation leads to better decision-making. When negotiating, for example, the person who speaks the least often holds the most power. The other party will fill the silence, revealing more than they intended. They will justify their position, offer additional information, or even change their stance just because they feel uncomfortable with the quiet. The observer, by saying nothing, gathers data and uses it to their advantage. This applies to leadership as well. The best leaders are not the ones who dictate every move, but the ones who understand their people deeply. They notice their strengths, their motivations, their concerns, all without having to ask. This allows them to make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and lead with confidence. Silence also enhances learning. When you stop talking and start paying attention, you absorb knowledge at a much faster rate. You see patterns in behavior, recognize opportunities that others overlook, and gain insights that help you navigate complex situations with ease. The world rewards those who understand before they act, while others are distracted by the need to speak, to explain, to prove themselves. The silent observer is gathering the information that will give them an undeniable edge. Emotional control is one of the greatest strengths a person can develop, and silence is a powerful tool in mastering it. Most people allow their emotions to dictate their actions. When they are angry, they lash out. When they are anxious, they ramble. When they feel the need to prove themselves, they speak without thinking. But those who understand the power of silence know that controlling their response gives them the upper hand. Silence creates a pause between emotion and reaction, allowing clarity to take the place of impulse. When faced with criticism, many people feel the urge to defend themselves immediately. They try to explain, justify, or argue their point. But the moment you engage in a defensive response, you give control to the other person. You allow their words to dictate your actions. By choosing silence instead, you maintain your position of strength. You do not give others the satisfaction of seeing you unsettled. You force them to sit with their own words, to wonder what you are thinking, to question whether their statement was as powerful as they believed. This creates a psychological shift in any interaction, where the person who remains composed holds the advantage. Silence also plays a crucial role in handling conflict. Heated arguments escalate because both sides feel the need to overpower the other with words. But when one person chooses silence, it disrupts the cycle. It forces the other party to confront their own emotions rather than feeding off of yours. It gives you space to assess the situation with a clear mind, to determine whether a response is necessary or if the silence itself is the strongest message you can send. In leadership, emotional control is what separates those who react from those who influence. A leader who cannot control their emotions loses the respect of their team. But a leader who remains calm under pressure, who does not allow external forces to shake their composure, earns trust and admiration. Silence helps build this level of self-discipline. It allows you to step back, to evaluate before speaking, to let emotions settle so that when you do respond, your words carry wisdom rather than frustration. It is not about suppressing feelings, but about choosing the right moment and method to express them in a way that commands respect. Self-confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room. It is about knowing you do not need to be. True confidence does not seek validation through words, but rather through presence. Those who understand the power of silence recognize that they do not have to explain themselves to be understood. Nor do they have to fill every moment with words to prove their worth. Silence is the mark of someone who is secure in themselves, someone who knows that their value is not determined by how much they say, but by the strength of their actions and the depth of their thoughts. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, it is a sign of self-assurance. In conversations, those who rush to speak often do so out of fear of being overlooked, fear of not appearing intelligent, fear of losing control of the narrative. But those who are comfortable in their own skin do not feel the need to compete for attention. They know that when they do speak, their words will carry weight because they were chosen with intention. They do not waste energy trying to convince others of their capabilities. Instead, they let their results speak for themselves. Silence also demonstrates control over one's ego. Many people feel the need to respond to every challenge, to correct every misperception, to ensure that others see them in the way they want to be seen. But confidence comes from understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. The ability to remain silent in moments where others expect you to react shows discipline and a deep sense of self-worth. It proves that your validation does not come from external approval, but from within. In negotiations, in leadership, in personal relationships, silence communicates more than words ever could. It shows that you are not seeking permission to be heard, that you do not need to justify yourself to those who doubt you, and that you trust your own judgment above the noise of the world. When you embrace silence, you naturally draw people in. They want to know what you are thinking, they respect the space you create, and they begin to see you as someone who does not seek power, but already possesses it. Confidence is not about demanding attention. It is about commanding it without having to ask.